tough loss for your Bengals, Logan. I applaud you for coming to do the show. Let's get right into the game. It was a tough game for the Bengals. It really was a close game. We talked about this just a few minutes ago. The Bengals scored 16 points in the fourth quarter, but the 3 points in the fourth for the Steelers were enough for a victory. They come out on top, 18-16. Give me your thoughts on this game real quick. Obviously, as a Bengals fan, from your perspective.
Well, this game, out of the last 5 playoff appearances, this one is probably the toughest. Just because it was a back and forth game in the fourth quarter. The Bengals really couldn't muster anything for the first 3 quarters, but in the fourth quarter they started getting things going. This was very tough for us because we were there. We easily could have won this game. I think Landry Jones threw an interception to Perfect, and then
at the end of the game,
fumbled it. Yeah.
Yep.
And then
with about a minute 50 left.
So then Hill fumbles it. Roethlisberger comes back in the game, votes a 4th down and 3, which is manageable. And then you have 2 personal foul penalties, one on Vontaze Perfect and one on Adam Jones. And I believe the ball was around 45-yard line at this point. It got them all the way down to about the 30 on the other side, or about the 20, and then from there it was just self-explanatory. Steelers get the field goal with about 14 seconds left, and I'm just really, really disappointed in this team's effort. I didn't like the fouls. This was a dirty game all the way around for both teams. Penalties on both teams. Fans were throwing debris onto the field, booing like crazy. They did not like the officiating, but, what can you do now? The game is over.
Early in the game, there was 2 key injuries for me, both on the Bengals in their secondary, and that was Drake Kirkpatrick and then Reggie Nelson, the free safety. Losing those 2 guys early in the game opened some opportunities for the Steelers offense, and you got to give credit to the Bengals defense. They thought they did a tremendous job keeping them in this game, especially when that offense was really not moving the ball. I believe they opened up with 6 or 7 straight punts, the Bengals did. But after that, they kind of started getting into a groove as soon as Ben Roethlisberger went down and then Landry Jones came in. They found some momentum. They got Jeremy Hill involved more. They got Giovanni Bernard the ball. But that Jeremy Hill fumble late in the game kind of sealed the deal. Well, it didn't seal the deal. They should have won this game. I don't think Jeremy Hill lost them this game. Others might beg to differ. I don't think because they had a chance to stop the Steelers multiple times, but it's just those penalties that you brought up that killed them ultimately late in the game. And a big part of that, I think, is just lack of self-control, a lack of discipline. I think you have to point to Marvin Lewis in that direction. There's a reason why he's 0-8 now in the playoffs.
0-7.
0-7. And these teams have to be better coached. That wouldn't happen to the Patriots. This game, those penalties would not happen on a Bill Belichick coach team.
No doubt about it, they wouldn't. And then going for their coaches, Marvin Lewis, what's the situation with him next year? I don't know. I'm hoping to look more into it. And then as for Hugh Jackson and Paul Gunther, the offensive defense coordinator, they have head coaching interviews coming up. Paul Gunther with Cleveland tomorrow, and then Hugh Jackson with San Francisco coming up. And then we have a lot of free agents to be. I believe Adam Jones is one of them. And honestly, if I'm a Bengals fan, as much as he's good at returning kicks, as much as probably this was his best year as a defensive back, get rid of him.
I don't think you can have that on their team. There's just too much negativity, I think, on that team right now. They're not controlled. There's no... earlier in the year when he choked Amari Cooper, so this has been a reoccurring theme, especially with Adam Jones. But you could look at Perfect and then look at the Steeler game. There was a few plays in that game, but I'm not going to say that Perfect is maybe a dirty player, but certainly there's question. Ben Roethlisberger, 18 of 31, 1 touchdown, 229 yards, no interceptions. McCarron, 23 of 41, 212 yards, 1 touchdown and an interception. I think those 41 attempts are probably more than they wanted McCarron to have to throw for his first playoff game against Pittsburgh. I think that they would have probably wanted to have that number between 30 and 35. They only ran the ball 24 times as a team. Hill got a majority of those carries, half of them, 12 carries, 50 yards, and a touchdoall.
Well, They had no running game.
I think, well, you got to give credit to Pittsburgh. I thought that
Yeah.
Pittsburgh did a good job up front where they've been struggling to stop the run. In this game in particular, they did a good job filling in those gaps and getting through block or shedding blocks, getting those running backs in the backfield. I think that was key in this game.
Well, no doubt about it, it was key. It was also key was Pittsburgh ran for 167 yards rushing, which was, I think, more than a lot of people expected coming into this game.
Especially how, Geno Atkins has been playing. Wasn't him a huge factor in this game?
Yeah, he wasn't. I mean, the Bengals defensive line, I mean, they did get 3 sacks on Ben Roethlisberger and 1 on Landry Jones, but they weren't making big plays when it mattered like they were prone to.
I thought on that last drive, both of those last 2 drives, when Landry Jones was in there and then Big Ben was in there, I thought they were getting good pressure. I think earlier in the game they could have made a few more plays, but for the most part I thought they filled in well. They couldn't stop the run. Pass rush was there, but the run stopping was not. Antonio Brown, 7 catches, 119 yards. He had himself a heck of a day. A big part of that was because Kirkpatrick was out and Reggie Nelson.
Yeah.
And it's a Pro Bowl player in Nelson, and then Kirkpatrick a solid player.
But I want to talk really quick about the 2 penalties on the final drive of the game. First, the dirty hit on Antonio Brown, and then the next play was Adam Jones.
Well, the dirty hit on Burfict, and look, the guy played well. I mean, he had 2 tackles for a loss in this game, Burfict did, but that's inexcusable. He launched himself at Antonio Brown's head. I mean, he didn't even touch the ball.
He didn't even need to do that. The pass was already in.
Yeah, and he didn't even. Antonio Brown didn't get his hands on the ball.
Yeah, and then the next one, Adam Jones, he grabbed the Steelers coach by the shirt, and then there goes another 15 yards. So that puts them, the Steelers, in easy field goal range, where then they just don't even mess around anymore. They send out Boswell, and he kicks the field goal, and that's the game. It's really, really frustrating because now I got to wait a whole nother year. Bengals are now 0-5 in the playoffs in the last 5 years. Haven't won a playoff game since 1991. It's not going to happen this year. I hope next year.
It should have happened this year. That's the sad thing. It
should have.
It should have. I mean, this team really should have won that game.
It definitely should have happened. I believe if Andy Dalton would have been in, I'm not giving AJ McCarron he knew anything, but if Andy Dalton would have been
they would have probably won that game.
Yeah,
I think you look back early in that game. You look back early in that game, and there are some drives where I think Dalton would have definitely capitalized.
No doubt about it. I mean,
and it wouldn't have to come down to that last drive.
And then I just want to talk really quick about the Giovanni Bernard dirty hit. I don't know who had the tackle, but that was just a dirty hit. I mean, you expect this game to be physical, but
and there was no flag because apparently he was not a defenseless runner because he had turned around. But I don't. Yeah, that play's up for debate. I mean, that play his head got smashed in to his shoulder pads.
Yeah, I bet. I know. Fans were not happy at the end of the game. As I said, they were throwing debris onto the field. This was just an ugly game all around.
A.J. Green, 5 catches, 71 yards, a touchdown. The touchdown came late in that game. A 25-yarder, I believe, when he was wide open. Looked like the Steelers were playing zone and they got confused as the corner did not prepare for Green to run that deep route. Most of those catches came late in the game. Green was not a factor early. They did a good job, the Steelers, that is, taking Green away. Eifert, 5 catches, 58 yards. He had 1 key drop that came late in the game. Marvin Jones, 4 catches, 32 yards. I just run through these numbers. Really, the Steelers' secondary did a good job keeping McCarron in check. He certainly didn't torch this secondary. McCarron didn't, but that's how they did. They should have had enough to win this game, and I thought McCarron did enough. Throwing for 212 yards, that should have been enough to win this game, but ultimately they came up short.
Yep.
Tough loss for the Bengals. The Steelers move on. They'll take on Denver. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that should be a good matchup to watch for next week. Thank you guys for tuning in, and Logan, thanks for doing the show with me on a tough afternoon for you, or tough night for you.
Thanks.